Start streaming. Go. Oh no, I didn't change the go live. It's release mode. It's release mode. I got to get a bunch of stuff set up still. I was just in a call making sure that the release went live as expected. But today's stream is going to be a little different from usual, so we can break down what just happened and why. And then obviously field any questions that come up along the way. So let me just finish getting all my stuff in place here. Yeah, late, Josh. I'm here now. Okay. I don't look too disheveled. I'll take it. Release, where'd the release notes go? Feedback tab. So this is our most recent release right there. Let me change the name of the stream real quick. How do I do that? Stream information. That's promising. Title. Release mode. Does that work? I don't know. Yeah, I think that worked. Okay, we're in release mode. So I've got the very, very short version in front of me. This does not even come close to describing what went into this release. So we're going to open up the full release notes. For those of you who are new to Future Group Friday, welcome. This is a weekly series that I've been putting on since about November, December, somewhere around there. Just talking about daily changes or weekly changes to the game from a development standpoint. If you don't know what TagPro is at all, you can find it at tagpro.gg. It's a free-to-play capture the flag game. You can play quick games of about 6 minutes live right in your browser. No sign-up required at tagpro.gg. It looks like we already have a bug report coming in, which is not a good sign. Huh. We're going to have to fix that. We've got an undefined something or other coming in, which is in world. Something in the game is not working properly. I promise the whole stream's not going to be just this, but I want to check this real quick and make sure it's not something I can fix. Oh, I see the problem. We have some balls. In the pregame balancing. So one of the changes that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Crisp bacon avocado. What? Oh, is that an ad that you got? One of the changes we have is to check the probability of a win before a game starts and adjust the teams if we think it's going to be a blowout win. And I think what's happening right now is if a sunball is in the game, it's trying to balance them, but that person has no skill data to rank them with, and it's crashing because we don't handle that properly. So to generate that calculation, we look at the player skill ranking data, which is basically the back end version of what you see on the leaderboard, and we put them into the actual open skill software, I guess is the word. I don't know what you exactly call them, but right now we're passing in a field that is not the correct field to be passing in, and it doesn't like that. so it's crashing. So we just found the problem. It should be pretty quick to push the fix out to that. It should just be a matter of figuring out which value. So we team 1 players. Open skill. Okay, so we've got somebody on that now, so that should be patched up pretty quick. So let's get into the actual release notes. About to clip, it's trying to balance a sum ball, but that person has no skill. Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's what's happening. So you have to start from default values, and we do that, but we didn't look at the correct field name. And the reason this got by our testing is because I think everybody on the secret session was logged in, which is not what we usually do. We missed a step there. So sorry, just answering a question here real quick. Players. Yeah, so why is that? Man, I had high hopes for this release to not do this to me. Yeah, why is open skill? What's going on here? Ah, there it is. Yeah, it was bold. It was definitely ambitious. But I found it, so it's good. Yeah, it's the kind of thing where you test it a bunch, you test all these things, and then the most obvious case slips by you, and then you look stupid because you didn't fix this out. Feature Group Friday, yes, man. Yeah, if only TagPro was live while Feature Group Friday was live, I think this would be a lot better if I could just get to the release notes. But no, we gotta do bug fixes. So we need players to be mapped down to base open skill. So as I was saying, this is a problem related to the pre-game balancing. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the release. I do see it thinks I've earned the 1-3 flare when you have not earned the 1-3 flare. Let's talk about that, Grant. Could you... Nice little chart there. Flares. Oh, this is the wrong Grant. You're Grunt. Flare. Where are you seeing that it says you have the 1-3 flare? It has the right rank data for you. Because you only have tier 3. So what is it showing you on the leaderboard? Where are you saying it, or you've earned the 1-3 flare? Like on this page here, where you hover? It says earn on diamond and challenger? That's confusing. That doesn't make sense because it's supposed to be wins above a certain level. Are you sure that it wasn't bugged before and you actually did earn it and we fixed that problem? Because you played a bunch, right? Challenger contend. What are you in right now? Yeah, you're in tier 1-3. I think that you probably had the win. So let's talk about that for a second. One of the changes that we had talked about in the past was about how you earn those ranked flares, and it was a confusing system because we had like a bucket that had to be filled basically where you would win a certain number of games in each tier, and the number of games that you won had to be at or above a certain value. So for example, the very bottom tier, tier 8, you needed 5 wins at or above tier 8 to earn that flare, 5 wins at or above tier 7, 10 at or above tier 6, etc., up to a total of 100 total wins to get the tier 1-1 flare if you are able to get that high up on the leaderboard. The system had problems because we were trying to look at your last 500 games and then recalculate where you should be after each game, which was okay. Like, it worked, but it was very unintuitive because if you, for example, had I'm going to use lower numbers because they're easier for me to think through. If you had 10 wins and you were in tier 7, then you're good. You earn the tier 7 flare. But if you were in tier 6 and won 10 times, and then you dropped down to tier 7 and you won 10 more times, the 10 wins that you earned in tier 7 would kind of slot in underneath the 10 wins that you'd earned in tier 6 and push them up. So you could win the tier 6 flare, or you could earn the tier 6 flare by winning tier 7 games. And that was not an intuitive system because it doesn't make sense to be earning a flare higher than the tier that you are currently in. And we were seeing that happen at the top as well, where players were earning like the tier 1-2 flare, even though they were currently in 1-3, because those lower wins were pushing up their top wins, so they were counting for the next flare up. And it's the most fair system because all of your wins count towards the highest flare they possibly can, but it wasn't easy to display how that was working. So we scrapped that system. I built a new one that I haven't explained on stream yet because I built this in the last week, which throws out the whole grabbing your last 500 games and recalculating everything. That's completely gone now. So what we do instead is we look at your current number of wins at the end of every game. So say it's the start of the season, you play your first game, you're in tier 5 or whatever, you win that game. It looks to see if the number of wins you have earned in the past is at or above the flare requirement for that tier. So for example, I need one more win in platinum or higher to earn the platinum flare. That means I can win a game in anything, platinum and up, but if I win a game in gold or down, I don't get anything. So the reason for that is if I am in gold, my wins total is higher than the cutoff to earning the gold flare. The gold flare would be, I don't have the exact numbers here, but to win the gold flare, you need this many wins. I have this many wins. If I win a game in gold, it's not going to add to the top because I'm not high enough to add it onto the top of it. So no matter what tier you're in when you earn a game, it just adds any count to your flare count. So it's just a single value that increments throughout the season, and it only increments when you win a game at or above where the current wins are right now. So I don't think I'm explaining that super well, but do you have questions about that? I can go in a little more detail on it. 2 more wins now. So I think what might have happened, Greg, because we ran a script to populate this value that I'm talking about, where we took your whole ranked history and we crunched that down into those same integers, where it looks at your first game. Did you win that game? Okay, your total flare wins is 1. Did you win your second game? It's 2, etc. Making sure that every time you did win a game, if it was above that cutoff for flares, if the game that you won was higher than the cutoff for a flare, it would add to that count every time. So I think in the recalculation, we probably fixed what was a bug on your profile that was not giving you credit for wins that you had earned in the past. And I just realized we didn't actually push the fix that we have, which is a problem. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So basically, that should be fixed. Whatever's showing now is more likely to be accurate than whatever you were seeing before. There were some other bugs that I think Name 333 reported related to the order of. So, this is such an annoying thing to explain because we got rid of the system. But I was talking about the 500 games that you pull forward. Those weren't being sorted correctly, so sometimes it was counting them in the wrong order, and that was causing players in 1-2 to not earn the 1-3 flare. And then that was stopping them from also earning the 1-2 flare because they weren't getting credit for the flare before it, so it would just stop whenever it got there every time. So again, that system wasn't good. It was overly complicated. It was not working properly, so we scrapped the whole thing. So yeah, I would trust whatever you see on your profile now versus what you had before. Anyway, ranked progression charts on the profile. Number 1. This has been something that Orchid has wanted to make for a while, and I'm pretty happy with how it looks. The thing to keep in mind with this, if you go to your profile, is that there are 2 different kinds of charts. So there's the current season chart, which shows a game-by-game breakdown for every game that you played. So the very first game that I played of the season, I was technically in tier 1 because nobody else had played yet. But you can see how my skill score goes up, but my tier actually goes down from contender to diamond to platinum as the season goes on. And now I'm still sitting in the platinum area. And I had a bad losing streak one day. But each dot that you see is a game that you played during the season. If you zoom way in, you can see what the order is, just so it's not a vertical line, but functionally those are all the same day. So I think double clicking will take you back out all the way if you want to do that. And yeah, so this one's a little bit more detailed, but at the end of a season, what we do is we get rid of all of that day-by-day breakdown stuff, and we just say, what is your daily change? So if you go to season 0, you will see that each bullet point, or each dot rather, on the chart is a different day. So you don't have multiple dots per day. It's just every dot is a single day. So your net gain that day is shown on the profile. And things got a little wonky because of all the changes that we made in the early season 0 days. But you can see things kind of stabilized as we went through. So you lose a little bit of like the fine data for season 0 for all previous seasons, but it's just a nicer summary of how you did without having to save a buttload of data on the back end. Is it intentional to have this show up on all profiles associated with a person? It does not matter to me, but if you go to Grant. Yes, I believe that was intentional. Oh, was that intentional? I'll have a discussion about it. Yeah, we'll follow up on that. Yeah, it's kind of a hard decision to make because anonymity is good to some degree, but also kind of gets in the way of a lot of things. Anyway, that fix is going live now, so it should be up in a couple seconds. So that's the profile charts. Hopefully people like those. You've got different queues. Obviously, if there's no data for it, it's not going to have anything to show you. So there's nothing to show for the regions that aren't alive right now. But as those start to wake up, hopefully, they will have data. So after that, we've got the new player indicators. This is one that I was personally very excited for. I've been spending a lot of time on this. We had an extended trial of this feature over the past 4 or 5 months where we were having the data that we were thinking about using projected out to moderators and monitors so that they could see in a game if a logged out player was or was not new to TagPro. And I feel like that's a pretty important thing to have just from a growth standpoint because it's hard to tell sometimes, is this Sunball trolling or is this some ball new? And for the last 10 years, people have always defaulted to trolling because they don't have any other information to work with. And to their credit, there is a high likelihood that they were in the early days. But more recently, what we see on the back end is that these players people call it trolling, they actually just have no idea what's going on. So we'll look at their play history. It'll be the first game ever played from that location. They play for one game, they go the wrong way in neutral flag, they quit, and they never come back. So like that's pretty obviously a new player, not somebody who just decided, hey, I'm going to go to TagPro and mess up one neutral flag game and then never play again. Like that's not what an experienced troll would do. It's not what you see behavior-wise. So it's 99% chance it's a new player. So we tried to figure out what do we actually know about these new players? What are the consistent data points that we see on the back end that tell us this person is new? How do we quantify that so that it can be displayed on the front end? And so we had that trial where we were guessing, is this person new or not, for every single game that we were in. And it was actually quite accurate that we were finding that every time we did a review of somebody we thought was new, they were actually a new player, and vice versa. So what you're going to see on the profile is a little green leaf next to the player's name. And I don't think we have any games going yet because it's still, we're in maintenance mode real quick to fix that. Actually, is there a game that got through? Yeah, that one wouldn't have any new players in it because it's ranked. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But basically, on the profile, a little green leaf will pop up. And if you are new, it will show you that. And if I show all the players that on the scoreboard. And if you are not new, it won't have that leaf. So you'll know this some ball is or is not a new player because they do or do not have that leaf. And because no system is perfect that's automated, we do have a fallback manual system. So if a moderator sees a player and they're just shattering ankles and they have the leaf, like obviously not a new player kind of thing, we can physically mark them and say this person's not actually new, remove that leaf so they don't get falsely indicated. Basically to try to build some trust around that system because we want people to see a green leaf and be, oh, I'm going to be nice to this person because they're new to TagPro, not, oh, this person's obviously a smurf because they have a green leaf, I'm going to harass them. That's not what we want this to be for. So just trying to figure out why this didn't happen on secret. Okay. Fix is up. Should be restarting the servers now, and if it happens again, I'll be sad. But basically, new player indicators, done. Let us know how you think about those. If you're seeing a lot of inaccuracies early on, you could probably... I think it's fine if you call mods for that. I don't think it's going to bother us too much. I wouldn't call mods if you suspect it. I would call mods if you are like, this person is definitely not new. And the problem with that is that we have a lot of people in this community who don't understand what it means to be new. So they'll be like, this person's obviously working against inexperienced, and it's a person who's in their third game ever, and we have to tell them no. So I don't want to encourage too many mod calls for players you think are smurfing, but if you're really sure about it, I think we can live with that for now. So after that, all ranked players are now visible on the leaderboard. This is something that's been requested for a while now. That's kind of the focus of this release is long-term requests. If you want to see more about the leaderboard, you can now click on any tier and it will populate that tier on your leaderboard. So you can see anybody in any tier by clicking on those and you'll know where that person is. And this is only active players. So if you are not playing enough games, you are not going to show up on this for anybody, but obviously everybody who is playing is there. And so this is nice, especially if you're not active and you're not sure where you would be on the list. You can still say, okay, my skill rating is 820. That's going to put me down around here. And even if I wasn't on the leaderboard, I'd be able to see roughly where I am in the grand scheme of things. Oh no, I'm inactive. I'll fix that soon. There is a slight bug right now. If you hover over this number here, it does say undefined weeks, undefined days. That will be fixed tomorrow after the nightly reset. But it will tell you exactly how many games you need to be considered active. And if you are not active, if you check this now, you should see a little pop-up below that that tells you how many games you need to play until you are considered active and can show up on the leaderboard. So a lot of the complaints that we got were surrounding information here because it was hard to know what you needed to do to meet the requirements. And so we just wanted to explicitly lay that out so you can see what you need to do. And that's the same justification for the hovering here, so you can see how many wins you need to earn these flares. So hopefully those are working. I think we could do a nicer display of this, kind of like a I'm thinking like a thermostat kind of thing where it shows you like a wins bar that kind of grows up through all the flares as you go, but that would be a lot harder to do than what we had time for. So we do what we can. Next up, ranked flare progress. Just talked about that. Next up, gravity well strength. This is one that the gravity community has been requesting for a while. I think mostly for their tower maps, they wanted ways to have an element pushing instead of an element pulling. And so groups only for now. Eventually, I'd like to add this in as a tile type, but for now it's just in groups. You can change the strength and the direction of a grav well on your map. And that is applied to all grav wells the same, so you cannot have multiple gravity wells with different settings right now. It's just all or nothing for pulling, pushing, how strong you want them to be. I think that if that goes well enough with what they're messing with, that would be a good argument for prioritizing that tile type, because it's a pretty cool thing to have, and I think it would be nice to have another tile type that's not horribly disruptive. And right now gravity wells they kind of own the whole map if you put a gravity well on it. So if we could have a weaker gravity well, I think that might be something the MTC makes use of, but we don't have the ability to bring it over to the actual map editor right now. And I think somebody was talking to me about, I think it was Spheroid reached out, asking why is it group only? Like, what's the justification for that? And it boils down to how the whole map making scene kind of came to be. And I'm not going to get too into detail on this, but if you're familiar with Fortunate Maps, you know that it's not hosted by TagPro. It's a separate website right now hosted by Electro, and it's good. It does what it's supposed to do. It's got everything that you need it to have, including the map editor, but it's not actually a part of Tag. What is this map? My God. But it's not actually a part of TagPro. Like, we don't have this code in our TagPro repository. So we can suggest edits to this. I think that it's open source, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the GitHub's right here. So you could check it out if you want to. But in order to add another tile type, we would need to update this and update TagPro and make them talk. And the amount of work that it would take to do that and to maintain it, at that point, it's more makes more sense for us to just integrate the whole thing into the game. And we don't have time for a project of that scale right this minute. So it's like the difference between a small one-day fix to give gravity wells a trial in groups versus a week or two, maybe multi-week process to get the whole thing integrated, and then all the bug fixes that come with that for something that's already stable and working as it is. It didn't make sense. We couldn't justify the time for it right now. So again, if gravity wells look good, if they have a lot of fun applications, that's another argument for spending that time and integrating Fortunate Maps and having the map editor be built into the game and follow the tile types that we add and all of that. So we will keep an eye on that and see how it goes. So, casual pregame balancing. So that's the thing I just talked about was broken. Hopefully it's fixed now. No, I'm still seeing bugs coming in. So a different bug is up now, which is confusing. I think the fix that we pushed didn't actually fix the issue. Sorry, I'm just pulling that up real quick. Huh? Why'd you remove the... Sorry, we pushed the wrong fix. Okay, that fix is going to be quick. I see the problem already, so we'll have that up. Sorry, this has been a rockier release than usual. Anyway, casual pregame balancing. So I spent a lot of time talking about this on stream before, but it was basically that people didn't like how often they were being flipped around on their teams, and they didn't like how the casual queue, which is meant to be casual, was still trying to still trying to create really intense matchups. It was trying to make them as even as it could, basically, which is what ranked does, and that's a good system to have for ranked. But for casual, it doesn't quite line up with the mantra of it. I don't know how to describe that basically, but it was making players who were okay at the game work really hard to win games. It was good for players who were not very good at the game because they were getting pulled onto better teams and they were winning more, but it wasn't quite balanced between those two mindsets. So as I said before, we bring it down to only balance the game if it looks like it's going to be a blowout. If there's a less than a 25% chance that either team will win, we don't actually let that game happen as it was. We forced them to have a new matchup. And hopefully you guys can still hear. My headset just died. Anyone in the chat, can you confirm that you can still hear me? Still alive? Okay. I'm just going to swap out. Strongly recommend this headset, by the way. It's got a replaceable battery, so you can swap out the battery really quickly. And I just realized I'm not playing music. Let me get that up for you guys real quick. Where'd my music go? Hello? Nice. Okay, we got music now. So, like I was saying, the 25% should kind of toe the line between those two things, still giving weaker players a chance to win some games, but not forcing players who are just pretty good at the game, but not like your standout top of the leaderboard players to actually enjoy some random matchups so they can be casual about their casual games instead of having to focus really hard in their casual games. So after that, public replays can now be filtered by game type. This is one that has been requested quite a bit. We're back in maintenance mode because we're fixing that other bug that just came up, but I don't have to adhere to that. So in this one, you've got this filter already in my games where you can filter by your ranked games if you wanted to or anything like that. We did not have the same filter in all public games. So all we did was add that same filter in. So if you want to go by only ranked games in the public stream, you can do that and you can see only the ranked games that have finished recently. And it looks like we have a couple that snuck in because that was only happening in casual. The games are crashing. So that went in. Replay URLs are now player specific. So this one wasn't really requested by anybody, but Bash was interested in it. But if you look at the URL up here, this is the replay URL, obviously. But if you switch to a different player, notice how the URL changes. And that's relevant because if I were to take this and copy it and send it to somebody else, previously, no matter who I was focused on, it would stay with whoever the first player to join the game was as the focus, because every single player who joined in would start from the same starting point. But now you can go to somebody and you can copy that URL, you can share it, and it will show that person's perspective for the game. I'm not sure exactly what the applications for that are yet. I think we'll figure that out in time, but it's a thing, so feel free to use that if you want. Minigame pregame countdown reduced from 20 to 10. So the game is down. What's up? Max, what's up right now is that there is a fix that went in that did not actually... So we had the release. The release is live. Most of what the release is working, but for casual games, the pregame balancing that I have highlighted on my screen right now was failing for players who did not have ranking data. So if the game predicted a 25% or less chance of either team to win, it was trying to balance it, but the values it was trying to use to balance the game didn't actually exist because we missed it in testing, and the game process would crash. So ranked games were launching, but casual games are not launching properly right now. We pushed a fix. That fix also didn't work, so we're pushing the real fix now, and looks like we're just confirming what the issue is now. So it should be back up within the next minute or two, but that is why it happened. Oh, that's a weird one. Okay, found the issue of that. We had some changes that were backend only. A lot of this release was a lot of backend working, like condensing things and putting them into a more readable format, mostly with thinking about the future. I was trying to figure out a good way to explain this before the stream today. At the end of the game, a lot of things need to happen to look at how the game went, save the data from the game to the database, pass it on to all the things that need the updates from that game. And over the last 13 years, there have been a lot of different people kind of working on this game and having different goals or how they build it. And what's happened is that the post-game updates kind of branched into 3 or 4 different directions. And that was fine because each of those individual branches worked properly. Like this branch would say, I want to save this person's flare to the database. This branch would say, I want to save this person's replay to the database. This one would say, I want to save their profile stats to the database and all of that. Maybe update the joiner with how the game went. So all those individual parts are working fine. But later on, if you want to make something a little bit more complicated, like say you want at the end of a game to send a notification to the lobby because you earned a flare, which we do now, that process works fine on that pathway. But maybe you wanted to send a notification based on something that happened in this pathway. If those pathways are completely independent, they don't talk to each other before they get to the database and they're done, it's hard to integrate them so that this pathway waits for this pathway to get its data to pass it over, and then it gets really messy. So what we did for a lot of that was try to take all those pathways and bring them into one pathway so that we can use the data from all of them as we make those updates, but then also just reduce the number of times that we are saving to the database. Every time that you go to the database is it's a cost, basically. It takes time to get to the database and back. There's a chance that you don't actually get there. So we want to try to reduce all of those to increase the number of things we can do with that data and decrease the number of times that we have problems because of that data. So what was I explaining there? The post-game stuff, just it needed a lot of work with that. And one of the things that we did in the process there was take a lot of the config variables that we use, which is like a hard-coded value. Like say that I want to make sure that there are only 8 players in a game. Instead of manually typing in the number 8 every time I talked about the number of players in the game, you would have one file at the very, very top that says this variable is the number of players in a game. And then later on, instead of having to go back and find every instance of the number 8 in your entire repository, you would just go to that one config file, edit that one number, and that number is being used everywhere else in the database. So we took some time for this release to find all of those individual values and try to pull them up into those config files so they're much easier to maintain in the future. The reason that the site just crashed 2 minutes ago is one of those files we pulled with the wrong name on the variable. It was nested inside of an object. We forgot to put the object's name before accessing it, so it was undefined, and that's why it crashed. So little things that just, they look good at face, like you look at the code, it looks fine because it's got the right variable name, but it's missing that other object name, so it goes down. Silly thing. So that's fixed. It should be live in a second. We should be coming out of maintenance mode momentarily. Moosin says, if you are centered and share a replay, does it still share the centered perspective, or is that or technically a spectated subject? It's even when you are centered on the screen, you are still following a specific player, and that's easy to see if you look at a replay and you open up the scoreboard while you're looking at it. So right now I'm centered on this replay, but if I press escape, you can see Help Refugees is the focus of this game. So even though I am not watching Help Refugees, I am still technically following them. So if I pressed the C key to uncenter, that's who it would go to, because I was always following that player, versus when I keep it locked, I'm still following them, but they are just not in the middle of my screen. So that has no effect on the URL. You'll see when I press the C key, nothing happens here. It's just a little bit of that's how the back end part of the replay works. That's a good question. So anyway, what was I explaining here with the casual games? I think I've covered that enough at this point. I really hope this next branch doesn't crash, because I'm tired of streaming and bug fixing at the same time. Public replays can be filtered. We talked about that. Replays are user specific. Okay, minigame countdown. I've talked about this one before. This is please approve my message. Yeah, go do that. Pre-game countdown is very, very long for minigames because it was set to the default value, which is 20. That's just more time than you need to get into a minigame. You see the map, you're good to go. There was a discussion about cutting that down to even shorter, like 5 seconds, but if you go below 6 seconds, you lose the pre-game zoom out and zoom in. And we decided that that was important enough to keep, because if you're joining a minigame and don't know the map, especially those larger racing maps, it's nice to see the whole thing before you join in, especially thinking about a new player who might not know the game very well or know any of the maps. It's nice for them to see everything before they get pulled into that close-up perspective. I'm surprised I don't see like 30 comments about the site being down. Oh, there they are. Yep. All right, so after that, AFK timer. So this is one that has been an ongoing discussion about how much to actually adjust these numbers. We have had a lot of complaints, and I've talked about it before, about how long it takes for a game to void, and then what to do if a player joins the game AFK, leaves, the other team scores, and then they come back. So they cancel the void because it's now 4v4, but their whole team is at a disadvantage. And there were a bunch of things stemming from that, like players being told to quit the game after they came back because they'd already lost it, players coming back and just getting harassed for leaving the game, basically little stuff like that, and just general frustration because you're playing, maybe you played really well, but you started off down one, you don't get any sort of compensation for that. So we discussed a lot of different options, like introducing something similar to like the save system for ranked. We had talked about increasing penalties for players, just different like decaying options, and none of those were really speaking to me in truth. So we went with the easier solution, which is just to reduce the time that it takes for that game to void. So you can see at the bottom here, previously before this release, it would take about 50 seconds from the game starting to the void happening if one of your players or teammates was AFK at the start of that ranked game. Now it's down to just 35 seconds. So that 35 came from 5 seconds shorter on the AFK timer, 5 seconds shorter on the void timer, and then 5 seconds shorter on the voting timer. So if you go AFK, it'll kick you after 10. 15 seconds later, it'll ask if the teammates want to void it. 10 seconds after it asks, it will actually void that game and throw it out, obviously, if it was a void. So hopefully that will reduce the times of players leaving and coming back, because if they can't get back fast enough, then the game is voided. And if they can get back fast enough, then hopefully that is fast enough that the other team hasn't gained an advantage in the time that they were gone. So we'll see how it plays out. It might still need to be cut down a little bit more. I think I hedged a little on the longer side because I didn't want to overshoot it, but we can see how that plays out, obviously, and go from there. And we just got another bug. I'm going to explode. Oh, it's the same one as before. Why didn't we? All right. I think someone's looking into that. Anyway. I am forbidden to explode. Thank you. Hot dogs explode. Yeah. Profile separated into 3 different sections. This is a precursor to the shop. So if you go to anyone's profile, you can see the stats page is up, which has your stats, obviously. So this is nice because before it was just like you had your stats and then the flares, and it was just too much data in the same place, especially with the addition of this chart. It became too much at the same time. And I think it would be nice to also add in other stats to this page. And now we have the freedom to do that because everything is stats specific. We don't have to worry about balancing stats with other things. And then with the flare, obviously, this is a pretty unique thing that's important to people, but it's nice to kind of have it showcased on its own instead of kind of tucked into the stats. And this will give us a bit of a staging ground to add in more flares because we can make this thing larger now and don't have to worry about the size that it's taking up on the profile page. As I've mentioned before with the in-game shop, there are going to be a lot of flares on the way, so this is going to get a lot larger, and we didn't really have the space for that in the old layout. They forgot the hot dog flare again. I'm very sorry. The newest update did work. It just is working in its own way, which is broken. But it's currently being fixed, and hopefully it'll be done soon. So settings is exactly what you think it is. This is all the stuff that was down before. The nice thing about separating the settings out, more so than just having it cleaner in terms of looking around, is that we can start to edit the click handling on these buttons. So I don't like the save settings button. I don't like that you have to pick stuff and then remember to save it. So we're going to be updating this eventually to just save stuff as you change it so that it just sticks and you don't have to remember to scroll down and click save. Because we have a lot of confusion because players think that they've set something, but then they didn't save it, so it didn't actually save their setting, and they're just confused because they thought that they had done something. So that should be on the way, but for now it's just separating those three out into their own tabs. After that, we've got the last game indicator displaying joiner status. So this one is a very lightly requested. I don't think too many people were looking for it, but if you are in a mini game and queued for casual or ranked, or you're in a casual game and also queued for ranked, you've got that next game indicator in the top left corner of your screen with the little green circle in the arrow. If you click on that, it turns red. That already existed before now. That was just saying at the end of this game, do you go to another game or do you go back into the joiner? So we've added to that, and we have these little indicators, which are just little parentheses basically, that say, okay, you're in a game right now. Are you being considered for another game at the same time? So it just confirms if you're queued for casual and ranked at the same time. If you see those little lines, it means that you are currently being considered for a ranked game while you're in that casual game. So it's just confirming what players should already know with a bit of a visual change. And same thing goes for mini games. Obviously, you're hoping to get into a casual game, so it will tell you that it's looking for that. Teams down a player in rank now receive shorter respawn timers. So this was requested, I think, on the candy board a few weeks back, and it was a very simple change, so we put it in. Basically just says that if you are 4v3, instead of your respawn timer still being the full 3 seconds, it is reduced to, I think, 2 seconds now. So you come back a little bit quicker. A slight, I don't want to say advantage because you're still down a player, but it's less of a disadvantage if you are down a player in your ranked game, which is a kind of a secondary thing trying to help with this here. So maybe your team went AFK and they left, you're not going to be quite as likely to give up a cap in the time that they're gone before they get back and hopefully continue the game 4v4. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, I'm not too worried about the impact there. Random maps in private groups can now be refined to random CTF or random NF maps. So if you go to the the groups tab and make a private group, you can see over here in the random section, you also have random CTF or NF, and that will just pick either a CTF or an NF map randomly instead of any map if you wanted to pick one or the other game mode. Nice and simple. Map previews on hover are now available for every list. So previously, if you went to the maps tab, we had previews for the rotation, so you could hover over them and see what the map looks like. But for any of the other tabs, it was not working, and now it is. So you can quickly go through and see all of the trial maps without having to click on them and then look at them over here. Also, this map is wild. I played it yesterday. Hilarious games on this map. Good job, Snack. So I like this personally for the retired, because you can scroll down and just see like all the old maps that you hadn't heard about in a long time. Like you got, like, come on. How often do you think about that map right there? Thank you, Josh. Hopefully it's actually working soon. But anyway, I think this is fun because it's nice to look up and see those maps that you haven't played in a long time. A little nostalgia hit. That's not nostalgia. Yeah, that was a good one. Anyway, live now. That works. So, ranked tier distribution has been tweaked to limit instances of a tier containing fewer than 10 players. So this was happening, we noticed, in neutral flag, I think it was, and it should already be rebalanced. But we would have a bunch of players at the top, a big bulge in the middle, and then very small group of players at the bottom. Like it would be like 10 people in gold, and that was not ideal. So we have changed the calculation to not taper off at the bottom unless we have a full distribution of 8 tiers. And so when you see full 8 tiers, that very, very bottom tier will have a smaller number as expected. And gold does have a smaller number than platinum right now, but it's not going to be such a dramatic drop off that you only have a handful of players there, because those players at the bottom, there aren't that many of them, and they don't play that often usually. That's why they're ranked lower in truth. So it wasn't a good combination to have so few of them and have them so far away from everybody else. They just weren't getting games, which is obviously not ideal. So it should just group players together a little more appropriately and allow those games to happen. Inaccurate casual player count updates. So if you were in the joiner waiting for a game, you would see that there were like 10 players queued, 8 players in game, whatever it was. And in the bottom left corner, it would show you plus 5 waiting or something like that. For ranked, that still makes sense, because for a ranked game, you still want to know, are these players in the same game mode as me? And are they within my tier tolerance? Like if I'm in tier 1 and they're in tier 6, we're never going to be considered together. So you might see that they're in the queue because it'll show you that many players are... Oh, we're in maintenance mode. But that'll show you over here like there are 10 players in the queue, but you might not be eligible for games with those 10 players. But for casual, you are always going to be eligible for games with those players. So the number that you see in casual is accurate. We don't need that redundant update in the lower left corner. And that update in the lower left corner was not... working properly, so we axed the whole thing. It wasn't giving any information. No need to have that. Player click menu only affects public games now. So if you are in a private lobby, say playing egg ball, like we said here, and you are trying to pass the egg to somebody else, if you click on their ball, before this release, that would open up the report menu, which is very disruptive when you're trying to play an egg ball game and all of a sudden you have a report screen in your face. So we have removed that so that if you are in a private game and you click on a player's ball, it does not cause that report screen to pop up. It does still happen in public games. If you use that for reporting, that's fine. It's still working, but not in private lobbies. So that was it for features. We do have some pretty exciting bug fixes that I want to talk about as well. If anybody has any questions about these releases or features, let me know. But we have a fix going live now, which means we should be out of maintenance mode in a moment, hopefully. Maybe not. Okay. Coming out of maintenance mode now. Bug reports. Visual bug. This is one that was very fun to track down. If you were following our Discord conversations, you might have seen us talking about this. We were finding, and thank you to Grant for reporting this. If you joined a game and you looked very closely at a power-up, for some browsers, for some players, not everybody, that power-up would appear to be two different power-ups at the same time. So say you had a TagPro with a green ring, you would also see the 3 dots of the juke juice underneath that green ring. And it was kind of confusing about why it's been happening. So we looked a little closer and we found that the bug stemmed from the updates that are sent to a player when they join, rendering before the stream of updates from the game. And so what that means is when you join a game as a player, all it does, it starts to send you everything you need to know to start playing that game in that moment. When you join as a delayed spectator, it sends you everything that you need to know from 10 seconds ago. So it's sending you old data to catch you up to 10 seconds ago in the game. The same thing happens in replays. It sends you all the data you need to get up to the point that you scrubbed to on the timeline. And so what was happening is the rendering of the game that you see in front of you happens by taking all those updates and then displaying them. But it also takes that old data and tries to display it. And the timing of that wasn't quite lining up. So what has to happen is that when you join a page, you have to load up all of the tiles, make sure you have the correct graphics that you can show players and things like that. It was doing that, but while it was loading all of that, those old updates were coming in to tell you what the game should look like when you join. And sometimes, for some players, those old updates were getting populated into the actual data that is used for rendering, right as the asynchronous loading of those tile types was finishing. So you would have both of those updates coming in at the same time, disagreeing about what that tile should be, and instead of one winning out, they would both win out, and they would render both of them on that tile. So it was showing two different power-ups in the same place, which is obviously confusing and not properly working. But, and this is where I'm a little more excited, I think that the source of that bug is the same source as the bug that shows inaccurate boost and flag states. So if you joined a game, and this is in the last 10 years, if you've joined a game, you've noticed that the flag tile appears to be like returned. It looks like the flag is in base, but you also see somebody holding that same flag. That's a bug, obviously, because the flag is not in base. That person is holding it. We think that that update is happening because just like the power-up where those two updates come in at the same time, the update for the flag being grabbed and the update for the flag tile being that tile were both happening at the same time. So it's not that the state of the flag was shown inaccurately, it's that the state of the flag was duplicated and you were showing the flag is there and the flag is not there. And when you put one of those on top of the other, it just looks like the flag is there. So the fix to that is to stop rendering the flag is there which is the equivalent of not showing the old power up on that tile. I think that that is the same source for those two bugs that we just couldn't figure out because we didn't have that extra visual information that the power-ups were able to give us. You might see the same thing with bombs and boosts. Those happen a little bit less frequently than the flag tile, but we think that all of those inaccurate rendering issues come from the same source. Now, there is a different visual bug, unrelated to that, where you're seeing a boost with like a black background as if it's not rendering properly. We don't think that that was the same source. So that problem is still eludes us. We haven't really figured out what the source of that one is, but we're a step closer by fixing the other stuff. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out. If you see those visual bugs, you see an inaccurate boost state or an inaccurate flag state, please let us know. We don't have the ability to rule out we don't have the ability to rule in that we fixed it. We can just rule out that we fixed it because you can't confirm that it's not happening for everybody until you've talked to everybody, and we don't have the ability to do that. So until I hear otherwise, I'm going to say we fixed it, but it might be the case that we haven't. We won't be able to know until somebody shows us that we didn't fix it. So we'll give it a week or two, and if it hasn't been reported by then, I'm going to call it a win. Now, a different visual bug, completely unrelated to what I just talked about, would be if you are playing the game with WebGL rendering disabled. And I'm not going to talk about what WebGL rendering is. It's not that important. Why are we still in maintenance mode? Can you guys not get into the site? I don't know why we're still... Sorry. Okay, so WebGL rendering, I'm not going to explain what it is, but... oh, now I'm down. Bash forgot to press the restart button, which is why it took an extra 4 minutes there. That's okay. If you have WebGL rendering disabled and you join the game, you would notice at times that there were vertical lines and horizontal lines across kind of the middle of your screen that were very, very minor, very small little black lines running through your tiles. And they didn't affect anything. They didn't you couldn't bump into them. They weren't stopping like power-ups from rendering or anything like that. Everything in the game would work fine, but you'd have those ugly little lines. And we found that that was a single pixel that was being added or not added based on how WebGL rendering shows you what is on your screen. And so site is live, but that has been fixed so that if you have that bug, we were able to figure out why you get it and basically just patch it by filling in that pixel so you don't see that black line. So I did shut the whole site down so you would tune in. I got up to a whole 12 viewers, so clearly it's working. But so that WebGL rendering bug is fixed as well. You will no longer see those ugly lines across your screen while you are playing with that disabled. So two different visual bugs, very, very different, but both very exciting to have those fixed because they both existed for a very long time. So if you see any other visual bugs, we are starting to understand the rendering code a little better than we used to. So progress. It's back now, but only 3 of us. Yep, go queue up. Good queue. I keep this in your other ear so I can keep yammering. Launcher. Launcher's the map voting page. If you were in that page and you noticed at times that you would get a message that said player is in an overtime game, but it would flip between that and a countdown. Like it would be like 55 seconds overtime, 54 seconds overtime, and it would just keep going back and forth. That bug was a timing issue that was way more complicated to fix than it should have been. The short version is that it's fixed now. The longer version is that if a player in a casual game went into overtime in their game when they were supposed to be going to a ranked game, the ranked game was expecting them at a certain time because it was saying, okay, there are 35 seconds left in that game. When the game ends, that player is going to come and join our lobby. But if the game goes to overtime, obviously their game is not ending at 35 seconds. It's going to be an unknown additional length of time. So the idea when that was originally built was to give that player another 30 seconds in overtime and then pull them into the ranked game no matter what, which gives them a little more time to find a substitute and hopefully maybe lets them finish that game if that OT lasts fewer than 30 seconds, which most of them do. But the timing of that was not lining up properly, so what was actually happening was the player would say, or get the notification that ranked ready was happening, the countdown would go all the way down to 0, the players in the launcher would see that flip-flopping players coming from an overtime game message, and then the player would never actually get redirected because the overtime game didn't end. So then the player would get a void for the ranked game, the launcher would get kicked back to the joiner, and nobody knew what was going on because that message was not accurate for what was actually happening. So it's all been fixed now. What's going to happen is if you get a ranked ready notification in your casual game, if there are more greater than 65 seconds left on the clock, you will be redirected during your next possible respawn or forcibly redirected in 65 seconds. If the game starts, or sorry, if the ranked ready notification comes with fewer than 65 seconds on the clock, you will not be redirected until the game ends. If the game does not end because it goes to overtime, you will get an additional 30 seconds, but during those 30 seconds, the game is trying to replace you anytime that you have respawned. And the launcher will get that notification that the player is in an overtime game for a maximum of those 30 seconds, at which point the player is forcibly removed and the game will launch. So all that happens now is instead of a 75-second timer, if somebody happens to go to overtime, it'll just add an extra 30 seconds and there will not be a void for anybody. You will be getting that game to happen every time. So if you see any more launcher related bugs or voting page related bugs, please let us know. If you are in a casual game and you are told that you are getting a ranked game next and you don't actually get there, please let us know, because that should not be happening anymore. After that, players moving between tiers 1, 2, and 1, 3 earn flares. I talked about that already. Basically, the way that we calculate these wins has been rebuilt for those who weren't here at the very start of the stream. Instead of looking at your 500 game history and trying to figure out which flares you've earned based on those wins, we tossed that whole system out, and every game that you play, if you win the game and the tier that you are in is higher than the flare that you have earned, so if I am in diamond and I've only earned the silver flare, then it will increment those wins until you get to the tier that you are in. So if I am in diamond and I have, sorry, let's use platinum as an example. If I am in platinum and I have won all of the games that I needed to earn the platinum flare, any additional games that I win do not increment that count because I already have the flare that matches the highest tier that I am in right now. But if I got better and I moved up to diamond, now I can start counting those wins toward the diamond flare. So again, one more time, if I start in platinum and I have no flares, every win that I get will count towards the tiers below me until I get to the point of earning the flare that I'm in, the flare for the tier that I am in, but not above the tier that I am in. So there's no back propagation, there's no counting old games. It's just you won a game, does it count towards a flare or not, incrementing that count throughout the season. And if you want to see yours specifically, you can go to the profile tab, hover over any tier, and it will tell you exactly how many wins you need to earn that flare. So for platinum, I need one more win in or above platinum to earn the platinum flare. Okay. Tips specific to public games no longer displayed in private lobbies. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If you are in a private game, it should not be telling you that another game will start soon because it's going to be sending you back to the group. There were one other one that I forget what it is, but basically it was specific to public games. There's no need to be telling people that stuff in private games. And we have no more bugs coming in, which means finally, okay, release is live. It only took an hour. Good enough. Ridiculous. False positives in the chat filter. I get a lot of messages about this. I've been working pretty hard on fixing that. We've further refined. I'm not going to talk about how because I don't want people learning how to get around it. But you should see fewer, not none, but fewer instances of false positives on the chat filter going forward, which is good because I'm getting tired of updating that every single day. So after that, a bug highlighting every tier in gold on the ranked leaders tab has been fixed. Previously, if you went to the leaderboards and then came back to ranked, everything would highlight gold. That does not happen anymore. So it's only the tier that you are currently in. Also, why am I in gold? I'm garbage. I am so bad. Okay. Don't need these open anymore. We are seeing odd errors on the maps tab has been fixed. I am so happy about this. This bug has been pissing me off for years. If you were on the maps tab and you like left the screen or you hovered over the wrong element, you would get that pop-up up top that said that we're seeing errors, and it was happening on trial. It was happening all over the place. All of those are fixed. Thank goodness. That all came off of the update to Vue, which is the rendering software that we use for our maps page. And I'm much, much happier with it now. So just little things that make the site slightly less broken is good. And then last but not least, players with random flare selected, you can now actually see their flare in the player search tab. So you can see a random one of the flares that I have selected versus if you didn't have a flare selected, there's nothing. But previously, if you had random selected, it would also show as if you had no flare. So that's all good to go. And that's this release. So as I mentioned in the notes, this is kind of an intermediate release. So there's nothing here that's like, oh my God, this is saving TagPro, but there are some pretty cool things that we've been working on in the background. I'm happy about the profile charts. I'm really excited for the new player indicators. Let's see if we can see one of those now on the casual games. Let's see. Is there a new player here? No. Any new players? That should be a new player. Nope. So that player, Sunball 1, we know is not new because they do not have any indicator next to their name on the scoreboard. Let's see if there's anybody who is. Nope. We have no new players online right now. So only experienced players. Oh well. But if you see a little green leaf, that is what that green leaf is meant to convey. So hopefully that is useful. Don't harass new players. Ranked players. Yeah, just again, little things that people have been asking for that I think are nice. Hopefully some cleaner. Probably better someone didn't discover it in the last 30 minutes. Yeah, that's fair. But we've got the post up now. And let me just respond to one or two of these comments. Fixed now. What did Kaiser say? I'm afraid of this. Hot tofu. Get out of here, Kaiser. Get out. Scram. It's been an hour? I've been streaming for an hour? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. This is terrible. So yeah, let me check the Future Group Friday forum real quick and see if we got any questions. I'm not going to do a future building session this week because my head is not in the right place. We've been working really hard on getting this release out the door. And yeah, so if we got questions, I'll go through those. But does anybody have any questions about the release itself right now? Looks like no responses to the form, which is fine. Now I know to juke differently against new players. Yes, so it's kind of funny because for the last couple months, like I mentioned, we've been trialing that system to see if the automation was accurate or not. So for moderators and monitors, we have been able to tell, for the most part, if somebody is new. And I have found that I had to stop myself from looking at the scoreboard so often because I didn't want to gain an advantage from it. But I found that I was definitely playing differently when I saw a new player on the other team in a way that kind of facilitates the game for them. And I have trouble admitting this because I feel like it almost, not actually, but almost crosses the line into working against, because you're not going to make the best possible play if it's going to just nuke a new player in their first 10 seconds of their game, right? Like I'm not going to body somebody off of a power-up who's brand new to the game just so I can get a juke juice when we're already winning 2-0. Like I let the new person get the power up. Like we're going to win the game anyway kind of thing. And I've been having trouble morally kind of coming to terms with, is it better to let the new player win, like have little wins in their game versus just complete like bully, like boosting someone into a spike. I'm not going to snipe boost somebody in the middle of the map into a spike if they're brand new to the game. That just seems rude, you know? And I'm not the only one who thinks this way, but I am going to be opposite of some people. Some people are going to do that more to new players. So I'm hoping that doesn't become a problem. But that's been one of my personal moral dilemmas for the last couple of months, is having that information and what to do with it. I will say that the information that we had was a little bit more specific. Like I knew if it was like their very first game or their like 30th game, those players are both going to be marked as new right now. You don't have that kind of information though in the front end display. There's a leaf in the Wamble game. Where? That's not Wamble. That's Whiplash. Wamble. Ta-da! Sunball 1 is new. And let's see how they look. Do they look new? They don't look experienced. So that's something. So yeah, so you can check it out. You can see the scoreboard. That person is new. That person is not new. There's a little question mark. It says new to TagPro. So you can confirm that. I think it's accurate. Yeah, they look pretty new to me. What do you think? Yeah, they're not spacing out properly on contains. They don't know the routes. That is a new player. Let's see how they do with the flag. Oh, spiking. That's not a new player strat. Maybe they're just bad. Yeah, glass marble. That's kind of my mentality. Like, I think it's better for the game for a new player to have an enjoyable first game. Even if they lose the game, you don't want to lose in a complete blowout, right? You want them to lose in a way that is TagPro. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. It doesn't really give an advantage. It more helps you calm down other players complaining. That is definitely a big point of it. ELO progression for EU doesn't show up if there are not enough games, I suppose. That is correct, Habe. There's no updates to show because there haven't really been any games. Symbol 1's starting to look a little better to me. I'm trying to figure out how new they might actually be. Keep in mind, you can be new up to, I believe it's your 50th game? Maybe it's 30th? I forget. So it's not like brand new, but still pretty new. Should be marked accordingly. Improving in real time. Yeah, it's also one thing you can't really do with the new player indicator is cover how different some players are when they're new. Like you have new players who have maybe never played a competitive sport in their life, and you have new players who maybe they played soccer for a long time or football, and they kind of understand the gist of blocking. Like that was a good button hold. I wouldn't expect that from a brand new player. And that boost there looked a little bit too experienced to be brand new as well. But what I'm trying to say is that the floor for certain players is inconsistent. Some players start off a lot better than others, and obviously you have players who are just better at the game than others. They probably started off a little bit stronger. So no one formula will catch every instance of brand new. Like that's too good of a play right there to be brand new. But anyway, that is there. We'll see how it works. Let us know if you have any feedback about it. I like how you go through this view instead of the very nice spectate view we have that shows this map. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That's just a muscle memory at this point. I'm so used to clicking through there. Usually what I actually do is go to the mod page and use it from there, but I didn't want to show that on stream, so I went with my secondary approach. But okay. What else should we be talking about here? We've got a couple other comments. How's the post looking? Nope, no hot dogs. No hot dogs. I feel like I was about to segue into something else and I forget what it is. But, well, enjoy this Wamble game while I figure that out. Thank you for the follow, Glass Marble. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's everything. What else do I know? I don't really talk about stuff from the last week on stream. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. I mean, obviously it's all live now, so there's not too much else to talk about, but there's some back-end stuff that I should probably mention. Oh, yeah, the backfill that we did. If you look at a profile, this here, we had started off the season with a cap on the number of games that it would save at 500. So we had to run a script that would backfill all of the games. And this is relevant for players who play a lot. Like you've got some people on the leaderboard who have well over 500 games. Let's see if I can find them. There we go. Like well over 500 games. So any game over 500 was being thrown out before this. So we had to make a script that would go back through the replays, reconstruct those entries, and then save them properly so that those players still have a full graph on their profile instead of it being cut off at 500 games ago. So that took a lot of testing, and that looks like it worked properly because that goes all the way back to the start of the season, which is good. And yeah, sorry, this is a bit of a disheveled stream. I'm sorry for the format here today. Josh has been posting on YouTube, if those of you who are not following haven't checked it out yet, you should. I think it's TagPro Every Day is the name of the account, and he's basically just posting a series trying to get people to find the game and bothering a lot of people to check the game out. And hopefully it turns into something. We'll see. I'll let you know, Josh, if I'm seeing any changes in the account creation rates that we have. It's been consistent for the last couple of days, but it needs to be a longer term trend because you have a lot of ups and downs in that. You can have as few as maybe 10 in a day. It's probably the lowest I see, and you can have as high as maybe 35 or 40. So it's kind of hard to predict. It doesn't usually follow a certain day or a certain time. I really wish I could figure out what is driving those flows, because if we could capitalize on whatever it is that prompts a bunch of people to join, that would be good. But it's nothing happening in our circles. It's not like somebody seeing a post on the TagPro site or anything like that, and that's causing, like, there's no correlation between anything that we have and the account creation rates. So maybe it ends up being a YouTube series. I don't know. 10 in a day is the lowest. Wow. Yeah, let me confirm that real quick before I lie to your face. We've got... new registered users. Today we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's only 2 p.m. Yesterday we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 9 the day before, so it does drop under 10. 10 the day before. 16 on Monday. 13 on Sunday. So yeah, it hovers around that area. The largest one I can see is 25 a week before that. So yeah, it's up and down. It's hard to say why. Definitely not zero. I haven't seen a day with zero in ever. Actually, I don't think there's ever been a single day where there were no accounts created since we started logging that. That's never happened. Kidnapping 10 strangers and forcing them to sign up every day is working? Yeah, I don't know if that's really gonna do much for us, but I didn't bother anyway in my latest video, but I need to be emailing more people tonight. Please do. You still get visual glitches when spectating. Tell me more about that. I don't know how to say your name. Ax Benazd? I feel like I'm saying a bad word when I say that. If you're seeing the visual glitch with the boosts showing a dark background on top of them, that is not the same bug as what we were talking about. You guys have put it in bug reports. Yeah, so that's different. So that's the background is not appearing properly. That's a different rendering issue than the state of the tile being wrong. Like if you use that boost, does it show 84% odds team? Is that normal? No, that is not normal. Is that in a ranked game? I don't see any ranked. Oh, it's my gosh. Is it this one? Ah! That's not good. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because that should not be happening. Let's see. Doing some real-time bug fixing. Rating type ranked. Rating type. Find best match. Huh. Well, I'm gonna have to look into that because that is not supposed to be the case. If the absolute probability, so the absolute value of the probability minus 0.5 is less than 0.4, that would be That should not be passing that check. That's really confusing. Oh. I see the problem. Yep. Okay, that's a very quick fix. I'll look into that after the stream is live. Yeah, that's a very fixable thing. Okay. How long is each season? So long term, we're looking at running seasons for roughly 3 months. We were hoping to have 4 seasons per year. I think we're going to end this season at the end of the month. I think March 1st is what we put in the release notes. And we'll have some more information posted on that tomorrow with the flair that you're going to earn for season 1, the exact number of games that you would win or need to have finished by the end of the season. Another rundown on the flares to make sure that new system that I explained is laid out a little more clearly. But March 1st should be the end of season 1. We might take a day or 2 off of ranked to make sure that everything cleans up properly between the seasons, and then just launch right into season 2 after that. Also applies to portals. Yeah, so any dynamic element. So that's going to be boosts, bombs, flags, portals, and power-ups are all going to have the possibility of that issue. But boosts and portals are updating more regularly because there are 4 different states. So the way that a boost works is easier if I show you what I'm talking about as I do this. The way that boosts work is they are 4 different images, and instead of displaying any one image, it cycles through the 4 images over and over again, and that generates the image that you're actually seeing where it's changing. So there's the disabled state, and then these are the 4 different states of that boost. So when you see the boost look like it's kind of glowing out, it's just cycling through these 4 pictures over and over again. And any tile that is like that is going to have the same problems. You see portals do the same thing. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all slightly rotated, so it looks like they're moving side to side. So for portals and speed pads, you're going to have that issue, whereas the other rendering issue was tiles that can be changed, which is going to be your flags, your bombs, which have you can see the active and disabled state. Bomb, diffuse bomb, flag, grab flag, power up, grab power up. So the 2 different kinds of bugs. We did not find the source for the one with these ones, unfortunately. Maybe I just got unlucky in the joiner. Yes, that's exactly what happened, but it's going to keep happening. Also, thank you for the follow, King Blisty and Habe. I really want to dive deeper into the rendering stuff and figure out why this is happening. It's very, very complicated code, unfortunately, and it's not even close to my area of expertise, which is unfortunate. But we are getting closer. I think being able to fix this stuff was a really big step in the right direction, so we will keep working at it. But this is easy to fix. Let me just make a note of that so I don't forget. Okay, so that's good. And then I don't think we have any other major bugs reported, which is nice. It's just the one that took an extra half hour to figure out, unfortunately. No, I'd say as far as releases go, not our best, but we've had significantly worse. So, are there any plans to grow the player base? Absolutely. There are many plans to grow the player base. It's a matter of picking the correct one and how to put your force behind it. So the easy and obvious answer is the Steam release. I don't know if you've been following that closely, King Blisty. Have you joined a stream before? Are you new to the community or anything like that? But basically, we've been working for the past few months on getting things set up in the site. You're new. Nice. Welcome. TagPro is an old game. It's a little rough around the edges. It needs a lot of things to be done before it can really be marketed to a larger audience. So the large goal is to have the game live on Steam, but I've been holding that back because I want more things to be added to the game before we actually do go live. An obvious example of one of those things is the new player indicator that we were just talking about on the casual game. So little things that allow new players to be a little bit more welcomed when they join the game is important to me. And then also we've talked about in the past the shop. So we've got 2 new players in here. One has an account, one does not. That's an example of something I think is important before we go live on Steam, because if you're expecting a large influx of new players, you need to have a system that actually supports them when they get there. So what we're going to do is get the shop up and running, make sure everything here is stable. Release on Steam, and then with the Steam release, we're also planning a marketing push. So we've got social media stuff set up. We've got some money set aside from a previous donation campaign that we're going to be doing paid ads as well. And then on the Steam page, we're going to have it released silently first, make sure it's working properly, and then go for an actual public release where we say like this game is ready to be announced to the world. And then at the same time as Steam, we're also looking at getting it up on what's the other platform? Is it itch.io? I forget what the name of the platform is. There's one other platform that looked promising for having the game on it. So basically, instead of doing little things that are all trying to make noise, we're going to get all those things ready when the game is ready to support more players, and then do them all at once and hope that makes a bigger sound, if you will. And the plan for that is for it to happen this year, if possible. Hoping that can be probably by, call it August of this year, if I had to pick a date right now, but it's kind of hard to say right now because, as you said, we're all doing this for free, so it's all based on the time that we have available to us, and we will see how it goes. Sunball 5 is a little confused, but they are new, so it's okay. Organic Reddit. Yeah, Reddit's been tough. They don't love us too much, but you like the new icon? Nice. Yay for new players. Subball 5-1, yeah. Tell me more about. I'm curious about this automated Reddit posts thing that you mentioned. I'm not familiar with automated posting. I feel like that would break some sort of rule that they have. Do you mean more on like monitoring other subreddits just to when somebody says something, or? Yeah, we've been banned from Ask Reddit for about 8 years now. That's ancient lore now at this point. The whole word is blocked, yeah. I think they blocked koalabees too. But yeah, that's a different story for a different time. All right, I feel like this stream went by really quickly, mostly because I was kind of focusing on 3 things at once the whole time. But we got to 90 minutes, so I'm probably going to call it there unless there are any more questions. I don't want to cut it short if King Blisty has more they want to talk about because they like having new players around here, but can automate replies to moderator posts containing specific statements. I'm going to look into that then and see what we can do with it. 2014? Seriously, anyone? I thought that was at least a year or 2 in. Is it really right at the very beginning? I guess it was around the time that I joined the game. So when was that? Yeah. Oh God. Okay. Yeah. All right. Andyman's right. 2014 is when we had the big the dirty push, and then I thought that the Ask Reddit stuff was pretty close after the dirty push, but I don't have the exact timeline in my head. You do marketing consulting. Do you do Discord? Because I would reach out to you if you do have a Discord. Yeah, 2014 just happened. Yeah. Yeah, like, do you have a Discord? I'd reach out to, like, I can send you a DM because I want to talk a little more about this, but I need more time to think, and I'm a little scrambled right now on this stream, so I don't want to miss an opportunity here. If you know a little more, it was history by the time you joined in 2016. Yeah, fair enough. My account age is misleading. I played for a little bit, logged out first. You do? Yes, excellent, good. And if you want to join our Discord, we have a link at the very footer of every page on the site, so you can also join in there. I can find you if you do that. But, all right, any last questions about... Sorry, Yapoli, the links don't work for some reason. I have to figure out my auto mod. Any last questions about this release before I call it? I'll give you 30 seconds. There he is. Welcome. Oh, you joined a while ago. Like 40 minutes ago. Nice. Hot dog, what a stream. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Sorry things got a little crazy there at the start, but I'm pretty excited for this one. I hope it'll hope it'll be received well. So if you haven't already, make sure you go upvote that post on the subreddit so that that sees more eyes. Maybe drop a comment if you haven't. And I will see you all. I think I'm around next Friday. Let me confirm that real quick. Yep, I'll be streaming next Friday. So as usual, 1 p.m. And we'll go through a little more of a feature building focus and all that and talk about the next steps with the Steam release and all that and the shop and everything. But until then, thank you all for your time. Enjoy your Friday and have a good weekend. I'll see y'all soon.